Now, as you can probably tell by this shelf right here, I really enjoy collecting for the PlayStation 4, and along my travels of amassing this collection, I've come across some really fantastic games, and I've also come across some games that I do not recommend anyone playing in the existence of ever. So today, it is 5 games worth picking up, playing and buying for the PlayStation 4, and then 5 that you should just not ever even talk about again after this video is done. And if you don't see a game that you want to see on this list, make sure to check out the other videos I've done, because this is like the 17th one now, and I'll link some at the end and some in the description for you to check out. So before you go and crucify me down below, do your research, although you'll probably do it anyway, so I don't know, it's whatever. This time I'm going to do games that I feel were maybe overlooked, games that may have passed you by and maybe you didn't play or you have reservations about, and I want to really highlight those games today, starting with Uncharted Lost Legacy. Now, if you're a fan of the Uncharted series and you played the first 4, I highly recommend you play this one, and if you haven't played any of them, don't start with this one. It's not a shining example of what the series can bring to the table, but it's a game that's definitely enjoyable if you are a fan of the series. Essentially what it is DLC for Uncharted 4 that got a standalone release, but it was definitely worth getting a standalone release. It's a big, beautiful game full of action, great gameplay, and a lot of laughs along the way. Again, it doesn't really stack up to other Uncharted games, but it never really was intended to. It came out at a much cheaper price point, and for what it is, it does a really great job. It's puzzles in the game, and puzzles being a key mechanic of Uncharted. Climbing and puzzles are 2 of the main things I would say that make an Uncharted game an Uncharted game. The puzzles in this game are really fun. What it is they've taken these 2 characters from other Uncharted games, Chloe and Nadine, and they've given them their own game, and it's just like a continuation of Uncharted 4. It feels very familiar, it feels like what you're used to. There's not really a learning curve at all. If you've played Uncharted 4, you've played this game. The game is well worth the full retail $40 that it initially was when it came out, and it's definitely worth whatever you find it at now because it's much cheaper. And with Black Friday coming up, it'll be even cheaper still. So I definitely recommend picking it up and not skipping on it. Again, especially if you're a fan of the Uncharted series, you need to play this. Play it. Oh, games not worth buying. Where to start, where to start. I'm gonna start with My Name is Mayo. Now, this is a game you might have heard of because it spread around the internet for a little bit as kind of a joke, and it is a joke. I don't recommend it for any price. It's only 99 cents, and I still don't recommend it. You literally just click on a jar of mayo. You unlock trophies, rewards, facts, and trivia, even costumes for your jar of mayo, and you just click. You just keep clicking. The last reward you get in the game is at 10,000 clicks. So 10,000 clicks and you're done. 99 cents, it's not worth. The only thing that might be worth it is it's a very easy platinum trophy. It's a 99-cent platinum trophy. If you're a trophy hunter, maybe. Next, for worth buying, a game that I picked up recently, World of Final Fantasy. This game really caters to fans of the Final Fantasy series. If you've played Final Fantasies in the past, you will recognize a lot of the characters, a lot of locations. There's even inside jokes and references to the Final Fantasy series all within this game. It's a very cutesy and adorable game, and even if you're not a fan of the Final Fantasy series and this is the first one you're gonna play, it's definitely something that you can get stuck into. It's kind of a mesh between what you'd expect out of the game and Pokemon. You catch monsters, train them, and battle them. I didn't expect that. I had no idea when I started playing that was what was gonna happen. The monsters you catch can even evolve into multiple forms, but in this game you can switch between old evolutions whenever you want. And where the game differs even more from Final Fantasy games, and it's not anything like Pokemon games, is that you can stack yourself and monsters on top of each other and build like a tier, and you all share your abilities, stats, and attacks that way. And that's where the smaller and larger versions of your avatar comes from in this game. Transform between the two so that you can weight yourself differently in the stacks. It's really interesting, and when you dive into it more while battling, there's a whole nother level of depth to it and things that you have to consider while you play. But really, when it's all said and done, it's actually kind of an easy Final Fantasy game. It's learning these mechanics take a little bit. The start of the game has a long-winded tutorial almost phase that seems to go for way too long. But once you get into the mindset of the game, you figure it all out, it's actually pretty easy. It's one of the easier Final Fantasy games that I've played. So again, a good jumping on point for new and familiar players. Next game not worth it is Horse Racing 2016, a game that was released in 2017. So we're off to a great start. Okay, this is a 2-hour game, max. An hour and a half, maybe. And it's just, I mean, look at it. The HUD system, just the display, the overhead display of the game looks like it was just quickly mocked up in Microsoft Word. It just looks terrible. The graphics of the actual game itself, I mean, they're not great. I've seen worse. There's worse on this list. Trust me, we'll get to it. It's not fun. Smash X, go around a track. The game sucks. You can unlock other horses. They're all the same. There's no difference in any of them that I can tell. Nope. Next, I'm going to mix it up a little bit with a game that I don't have on me because it only had a Japanese physical release, but you can download it free off the PlayStation Marketplace, so is it worth it at that point? I mean, I would say so. There is in-game transactions, but we'll get to that, and that is Let It Die. This game is a lot like Dark Souls in a way, and I know I hate when everything's compared to Dark Souls in this kind of genre, but it's an easy reference point for so many people. But where it really starts to differ is that it's made by Grasshopper Manufacture, the same studio that made games like Lollipop Chainsaw and Shadows of the Damned. Just to mention a couple of my favorite games this studio has made, not to mention actually some of my favorite games of all time, and a good friend of mine, Afromega Sin, will attest to how good these games are. So as to be expected, this game is weird, wacky, and wonderful, just like all the games from that studio. As I said, downloading it is free off the PlayStation 4 Marketplace, so obviously at that point it's worth it, and you can buy the physical from Japan, but that will run you upwards of $60. So at that point, it's really up to your own discretion of if you think it's worth it. I kind of want to get it physical, but we'll see. There is plenty of fun to be had in this game. It's narrated by a Grim Reaper. In the game, you climb up a tower, levels at a time, defeating enemies along your way, and it's kind of roguelike. Things change a little bit, but not too much. There's lots of weapons and guns you can use in the game. You can craft new weapons, you can mix up your play styles, and you can die, and you will die a lot, because the game's called Let It Die. That's the whole point. It's free to play. You can spend money in the game to do certain things, but you don't need to. The game's very generous when it comes to the in-game currency, so you never have to spend $1 on it. So at that point, whether you want to spend money on it or not, I would say it's worth it, and it's definitely worth checking out, and I'll always recommend anything from the studio that I actually enjoy because they make some really great stuff. Recently, I had the pleasure of talking about Resident Evil Revelations on my channel and how much I love those games, how much they were a great spin-off to the Resident Evil series, and how you quite often don't get great spin-off games. Well, this is another shining example of a terrible spin-off Resident Evil game. Resident Evil Umbrella Corps is also on Windows, but it's a console exclusive to PlayStation, which is how I get away with it on these lists. If I ever say it's exclusive to PlayStation, but you see it on Windows, it's a console exclusive, which means if you want to play it on console, you're going to need to play it this way. But whatever way you can play it, don't play Resident Evil Umbrella Corps no matter what you do. While it's not as bad as Raccoon City, hate that game. It's still bad. It's a clumsy, badly built, and not fun online multiplayer game. It may as well not have Resident Evil in the title because it doesn't do anything with the characters or the story or anything to do with Resident Evil. It just uses the name as another terrible spin-off. Don't play this game. In the very first video I made for PlayStation 4 games worth buying, I said I wasn't gonna do games like Horizon because it's obvious. Well, kind of because I'm running out of games at this point. I've done so many of these lists, but also because the Frozen Wildlands DLC just came out. I figured it'd be a perfect time to talk about the game because I've never actually done it on my channel. I've been avoiding it because it's amazing. I really love it, and it's obvious, and I've mentioned that before. But I haven't talked about the DLC pack either, so let's just dive in. As soon as you start the game, you begin to realize the depth and scope of the world and story that has been created for Horizon Zero Dawn. You start asking yourself questions about the story, almost immediately dying to want to know more. And you immediately want to start getting better at the game so that you can take down bigger and badder enemies as fast and as efficiently as you can. The only complaint I've ever had with this game, and again, I could keep going on about glowing praise, but the only thing I've ever had a complaint about is the faces. They're so not emotive. They have no expression, and it really bothers me because I just stare at their plastic face when they talk. Whatever they're saying, I'm kind of like, I get it, I get what you're going for, but I don't feel it. But that's the only complaint I've ever had. And now moving into the DLC, Frozen Wilds, it adds an extra 15 hours of gameplay, which includes more story, more epic battles, more side quests, and more bang for your buck. It also really ups the difficulty too. If you thought anything from before was hard, trust me, it gets a lot harder in that expansion. You very often see average DLC that you have to ask, is it worth picking up? DLC that you're not sure if it was worth buying, but PlayStation does a pretty good job at making sure their main titles DLC are pretty jam-packed. Like the Last of Us DLC was amazing. I can probably think of more if I tried, but the DLC for this game is DLC worth buying. It's the kind of thing that I like putting my money down for. Other skins, other stuff like that in games, any of the Assassin's Creed DLC I've ever bought has been a waste of money, but the DLC for this is, I recommend it. Now this next game is kind of cheating because it's on Xbox as well, but it's so bad that I wanted to put it on this list, and I hope you'll forgive me. It's on PlayStation, it counts, it's just not exclusive, and that is A Toro. So here we have Toro, a bullfighting simulator, although they couldn't even spell bullfighting right in the game itself. If you enjoy spending $3 on a series of boring QuickTime event button pressing coded in terrible graphics and average sound design, this is the game for you. I wouldn't call it bullfighting, I would call it bull something else, but I don't want to say that because this channel will get demonetized. I guess I can say bull crap, right? Let's go with that and move on. Now I can sit here all day and talk about your Final Fantasies, your Horizons, a bunch of games that you know about. I tried to bring something different to the table with Let It Die, but I really want to mix things up now. I always like throwing curveballs out there that I know a lot of my audience might not like or might not understand why I like it so much, but this is a game that I just feel I had a personal attachment to and connection to, and it's really hard to explain why it's such a great game. You do have to try and play it for yourself, but I'm telling you it is worth it, and that game is Flower. If you are stressed out like I am so much of the time, this is the game for you. This game almost passed me by, which is why I wanted to bring it to your attention. It's a very creative exploration game with calming gameplay and soothing music. Flower has about 6 stages and only lasts about 90 minutes, but it's something that you can play again and again if you do like it the way that I do. In this game, you control the wind and you blow a single petal through a field of flowers. I will admit it feels weird talking about this when I just talked about a game like Let It Die where it's like blood, gore, and weird wacky, and then like Horizon that's all like action-y, and now I'm like, let's talk about flowers. Feels weird, but let's keep going. As you blow through the world, you bring the environment to life just by floating on past it, which is oddly satisfying, trust me. Each flower you touch blossoms and lends you another petal. By the end of the stage, you will be breezing by with tons of petals with yours front and center. And by that point, at the end of the level, the entire world that you've been playing in has come to life through your motion, through your actions. And you can see this before very dead, bleak world become vibrant, colorful, and beautiful. And while you've done that, it was just very soothing and relaxing with, again, that calming music in the background. Even if you don't look at this game through the eyes of symbolism or deeper meaning, it still is a relaxing exploration game that you will enjoy playing, and you'll enjoy bringing this dying world back to life. This game is also on PS3 and Vita, but on PlayStation 4, it's 1080, it's 60 frames. They added extra physics and particle effects. It's just the best way to play the game. Again, it's hard to elaborate and explain the effect this game can have on you if you let it, but for $10, it's worth trying. I recommend picking it up and trying it out. Again, if you deal with stress, it's fun even if you don't. The next game not worth it may in fact be the worst game I've ever talked about on this channel, and that's Skylight Free Range 2 Gesundheit. And I know it's not Gesundheit, but this game was a mistake. It was a sneeze that someone turned and animated into a video game, if you even want to call it that. The only other game that came close to as bad as this game is, that I've talked about before, is Life of Black Tiger. And I was just saying non-surprisingly, but very surprisingly, both this game and Life of Black Tiger have official trailers, YouTube trailers, on the official PlayStation YouTube page. This has a official, PlayStation promoted it, just like Life of Black Tiger. It's still up. You can still watch that trailer. It hurts me inside, it hurts me outside, it hurts me everywhere. I'm just gonna show you a clip of the game and leave this video at that. Well guys, that's the end of my video, and I hope you enjoyed the games I picked. Well, at least I hope you enjoyed the ones that I like. If you enjoyed the ones I don't like, there might be something wrong with you. Remember to hit that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe because we become best friends. Let me know what games you think are worth it for the PlayStation 4, and let me know what games I missed down below. I love making these videos about the PlayStation. I love making any videos about PlayStation. My PS4 is one of my children. I love the Switch. I talk about the Switch way more on the channel than I do PlayStation, but it's very clear how much I love PlayStation. I love the Switch, but, you know, I'm just saying. That's all from me, guys. I hope you have a great week, weekend, whatever it is right now, and I'll see you in the next video. When I said I love my PlayStation, I just mean that I love it. I'm not trying to imply that maybe you know.